If your dad was abducted by an evil animatronic, what would you do? Oswald is in the middle of drawing some mysterious creatures when his dad calls out for him. It's time to go. On the drive, his dad explains that he's taking him to his regular drop-off at Jeff's Pizzeria. He mentions working part-time at the corner store since the mill closed down in town. It's been tough finding work, and Oswald feels like nothing ever happens in this small town, but he's excited that school is starting soon. A little while later, Oswald overhears a family talking about the good old days, when the location was bumpin', how they used to get ringworm from the ball pit. Determined to find the ball pit and hide in it to teach his dad a lesson, Oswald jumps in, ignoring the do not use sign. When he re-emerges, however, Oswald finds himself at a kids' party. It's a completely different scene from where the pizzeria he was just at. The place is packed with kids, and the name of the location has changed to Freddy Fazbears Pizzeria. Oswald befriends two kids, Mike and Chip, who compliment him on his outfit. They decide to go to the arcade to play games. After Mike says he's an undefeated champion, they play a quick round of skee-ball. Then, they continue to play tag throughout, and finally, they decide to play hide and seek. That's when everything changes. Oswald decides he wants to hide in the Fazbear animatronic suit, thinking that nobody will find him. Just as Oswald gets inside the Fazbear suit, Chip comes in to hide in one of the vents, immediately followed by Mike, who finds him and exclaims, "Wow, I have no idea where Oswald is. Let's see if we can find him." After this, however, the lights go out, and we can hear screaming. Oswald finds himself holding his breath as the evil animatronic that took his dad walks by. Later, we can see that there are kids screaming in all directions and running away from the main room and the party room. Oswald discovers that there's something wrong with the animatronics. As he opens a door, one of the animatronics is luring him into a room saying he needs to follow him. When he finally does follow him into the party room, he finds a horrific sight. The yellow rabbit animatronic lunges at him. He blocks the attack with a chair and decides it's time to hightail it out of here. Running for the ball pit, Oswald is greeted by Jeff and his dad. As his dad starts to scold him for going into a ball pit, the yellow rabbit animatronic decides to yank his dad back to the past as his new captive. Just when Oswald thought he saved his dad, it turns out that his new dad is actually an animatronic itself as his eyes begin to glow. Not knowing what's wrong, Oswald tries to tell Jeff exactly what's going on, but Jeff doesn't believe him. On the car ride home, Oswald questions how the animatronic knows how to drive and knows where he lives. Thinking quickly, Oswald decides that he's going to be going to his own room and have to take action. As he runs out of the car, he trips and the animatronic leads him inside by the hand. Once finally in his own room, Oswald decides he needs to call his mom, and he has to find the phone on his dad's nightstand. When Oswald finally approaches his dad's room, he finds the animatronic resting in his bed. Knowing that he has to distract it with a loud noise, Oswald decides he's going to turn on the sewing machine. Hiding inside the cabinet, the sixth grader manages to get the psycho outside of the bedroom. He grabs the ancient cell phone from the nightstand, but is shocked to see that there are no contacts saved on the phone. Making his way to the kitchen, Oswald remembers that his mom's cell phone is on the fridge. After a quick phone dial, he exclaims to his mom how he believes there's something wrong with his dad. Annie says it's an emergency. She says she's on her way home, and Oswald avoids the fake dad to come meet her in the living room. After thinking that her son is playing a prank on her because the dad appears fine, she says she's going back to work. After finally calling anyone he can, including the police, who have disbanded services in the area for the time being, Oswald decides he must go back to the pit. Exiting through the front door, he heads to the pizzeria where he tells Jeff a story about how he's picking up a pizza because his dad burned microwave ramen dinner. The story seems good enough for Jeff, and back to Freddy's we go. Oswald finds his dad's wallet in the back of the main stage. He begins recollecting a memory of when his dad secretly bought him a toy he really wanted, even though he was really low on the money. As Oswald makes his way back to the main room, he finds a crying kid stuck inside an animatronic. The kid pleads for help as he tells him how he was stuck in the contraption and feels like the mechanisms holding him there are going to snap any minute. He decides he's going to look for a tool that can help him free the kid before it's too late. Oswald travels through to the pit, back to the present, where he asks for the key to the basement from Jeff. But Jeff says he will only give him the key if he takes some trash to the mill for him. After dumping the trash, Jeff gives him the basement key, in which Oswald unlocks the basement and finds a screwdriver. He uses the screwdriver to free the crying kid, who is grateful but hasn't seen his dad. Just as they catch their breath, the yellow bunny comes charging in, and Oswald decides to go home and save his dad another day. That night, Oswald has nightmares about his dad being kidnapped, and his fake dad taking his place. Oswald wakes up in a panic and wonders if it was all a dream. As he gets his school lunch from his mom in the kitchen, we see Oswald outside for recess where he meets another student named Jet. Jet is blowing off some firecrackers, and when he finally does, all the boys run inside. Later that day, Oswald asks Jet if he can have some of the firecrackers, but Jet tells him he will trade them for something cool by the library. As Oswald leaves school, he notices a girl being bullied. After the bullies are gone, Oswald comforts her and finds out her name is Gabriel. She's big into science fiction and ends up giving Oswald an old sketchbook that belonged to her grandfather, who was an engineer on animatronics. He discovers detailed sketches and descriptions of all the animatronics he's seen at Freddy's so far. Later that night, Oswald sneaks out his bedroom window to go back to Jeff's pizzeria. After going through the pit this time, however, the power goes out, and Oswald goes backstage to the circuit box to turn the power back on. It makes a lot of noise, and he's forced to hide while the animatronics calm down. Using the flashlight he got from Jeff to stun the bunny, Oswald avoids some close calls and tries to go to the noise he hears coming from the kitchen, but ends up getting chased by Chica instead. Chica is a yellow chicken animatronic who ends up stealing his school lunch and adding it to her trash food pile. Oswald knows he heard someone in trouble in the Freddy's kitchen, so he goes back to Jeff to try and bait Chica with pizza. Jeff says times are tough and can't give Oswald free pizza, forcing Oswald to capture a rat from Freddy's and release it into present-day Jeff's. As Jeff is distracted trying to catch the rat, Oswald sneaks into the kitchen to steal a slice of pizza. After successfully adding the slice to Chica's pile, she comes out to investigate while Oswald hides under the table. When the coast is clear, he heads to the kitchen and finds Mike hiding in the kitchen cabinets. Oswald asks about Chip and his dad, but Mike isn't sure what happened to them, so they decide to go for the front entrance. And Mike thinks he might have seen Chip at the arcade. Just as they're deciding on a plan, the evil bunny breaks through the arcade doors, grabbing Oswald and causing Mike to bolt through the front door. Oswald manages to break free and decides that he's had enough for his second night. Waking up in his room the next day, he decides to pet his cat and talk to his mom about how he's feeling. Oswald is on edge and decides to skip breakfast before school. Stopped momentarily by his mom and fake dad in the living room, Oswald hurries to school, where Dylan bullies him with a sticky hand that gets confiscated by a teacher. In class, Oswald hallucinates about the animatronics, and a teacher notices his unease. She decides to send Oswald out to stretch his legs by grabbing a book she left in the principal's office. The principal is outside her office, seeming to have misplaced her keys, and she tasks Oswald with finding them. After he finds them and opens the door, Oswald decides to grab the book and Dylan's sticky hand that was confiscated. Oswald then returns to class and apologizes for being late. When class gets dismissed, Oswald heads straight home and finds a rope in his basement that he uses to climb down from the attic window to go back to the ball pit. After arriving back in the past, Oswald decides he's going to look for Chip in the arcade. He finds the keys to the arcade inside a busted vent. He obtains the keys with Dylan's sticky hand. When he finally gets in the arcade, however, he finds a purple psycho tying Chip up next to a whack-a-mole machine. Oswald remembers reading in the scrapbook about how Bonnie doesn't like her guitar being played by someone else, and that the old strings were discarded at the mill. Just as he grabs them, however, a school news reporter snaps a photo of him picking through the garbage and claims that he's the town raccoon, and this will make the front page in the school paper. Oswald shrugs it off because he has bigger problems at hand. When he gets back to Freddy's, he plucks up all his courage and begins to play the guitar loud enough for all the animatronics to come hunting him. He runs for the basement, where he takes shelter in the vent and tries to crawl toward the arcade. Bonnie manages to grab his foot, and he fights her off just in time. Coming out at one of the vents near the arcade, Oswald makes his way over to free Chip. Oswald asks Chip if he's seen his dad, and like everyone else, he has not. They're immediately surrounded and have to escape to safety, ending Oswald's third night at Freddy's. The next day at school, Dylan, the school reporter, bullies him in front of everyone and calls him the town raccoon. Sleep deprived and starting to lose his sanity, Oswald views everyone laughing at him as animatronics, and in a rage he attacks Dylan. Oswald then decides he's cutting school early and going to the pit to look for his dad. Jeff asks him why he was not in school, and Oswald said that they had the day off today. Hiding from the yellow psycho in the front entrance vent at Freddy's, Oswald tries to keep quiet to stay alive. Oswald also tries to open the security room, but is stopped by Freddy Fazbear himself. Thinking quickly, Oswald plays some arcade games to win a prize voucher that he uses at the prize machine to get a handheld game. He then travels back through the pit and to the library, where he trades the game with Jet for some firecrackers. Gabriel states how she thinks Oswald doesn't look too good as she's coming out of the library. Suddenly, the animatronic dad hauls him to the house, where he has boarded up multiple exits. Oswald drags the ladder from the attic to the basement, where he crawls out of the window to Jeff's Pizzeria. After setting off the firecrackers and stunning Freddy, Oswald makes his way into the security room, where he finds a kid who is too scared to go out the front door, making Oswald check the cameras. One of the animatronics lunges at the camera. Ultimately, Oswald says he will clear a path for the kid to escape. He decides to turn on the ice cream machine next to the party room, and runs back to guide the scared kid, but she is missing. After viewing the camera footage, Oswald sees her being taken to a freezer. He knows he has to act quickly to free her so she doesn't freeze. He grabs the mallet from the whack-a-mole machine and breaks the door handle off, consequently breaking the mallet in half. The yellow bunny once again bursts through the door and has Oswald in his clutches, and as Oswald escapes out of the clutches and back through the pit, he ends his fourth night at Freddy's. Oswald has officially lost it. He's having nightmares about school and the animatronics. He wakes up in a sweat, he decides he's not going to school and going straight to Freddy's to save his dad once and for all. When Oswald tries to enter the ball pit room, he is shocked to find it locked. Finding Jeff in his office, gambling/working, he tells him he forgot his jacket in the room with money he was going to use to buy a pizza. Jeff exclaims that he's tired of people breaking in, but hands him the keys, and Oswald is immediately chased down by a yellow bunny animatronic as soon as he leaves Jeff's office. All the way through the ball pit, this is the final showdown. Thinking quickly, Oswald hides in the vent next to the party room, and tries the party room door, but finds it locked, needing a keycard. With the animatronics blocking the easy way to the backstage, Oswald crawls through the vent to the basement. Maneuvering through, he finds a pile of animatronics with the party room security card in the middle of it. Oswald then makes his way back through the vents and opens the party room door to find a girl who's thankful he freed her. She hasn't seen anyone else, but she's heard weird noises coming from the mysterious vent in the party room. As she leaves, Oswald ventures through and finally finds his dad tied up to a chair, unconscious in a room he's never been in before. Oswald is shocked to find his dad in such a state. He unties him but has to hide in the vent again because someone is coming into the room. It's the deranged yellow psycho, who starts to drag his dad back to the ball pit. As the bunny tosses his dad into the pit, he turns on Oswald and Oswald manages to overpower him. While running away, Oswald drops a strange photo, and it's picked up by the bunny that buys them enough time to get through the ball pit. Back in the present Jeff's Pizzeria, the yellow rabbit bites Oswald's arm and Oswald shoves it into the ball pit net, where it snarls angrily, then powers down. The nightmare is over. Oswald wakes his dad up, who doesn't remember anything but has a lump on his head, and he talks about getting a new job somewhere else and moving their grandma with them, since she's the main thing holding them back. As the credits begin to roll, subscribe to the YouTube channel and like the video if you enjoyed it. As we end the game, a scene emerges where Jeff follows the trail of blood into the ball pit, thinking Oswald got hurt, but ends up meeting his demise to the yellow bunny animatronic instead. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Mr. OG. I'll catch you in the next one.